Hi, welcome to the coaching game. I'm Laurie Lawson, and tonight my guest is Blake Baumann. Hi, Blake. Thank you so much for being here today.
I am just privileged and a pleasure to be on your show, Lori, and to connect with you today. So I'm excited to be here.
Today, yeah, we're going to tell you why today is kind of exciting, but first we're going to tell you a little bit about Blake and why he's here. Blake is a co-founder, and his website says the CEO and a visionary. And I think after we find out what he's been doing, you're going to agree he's a visionary. Um, but it's a great. I'm going to say tool, but you can correct me if I'm wrong, called idealminds.com. And when I first met Blake, he said, I'm a neurodiversity coach. And I went, oh, that's cool. And then I realized I don't really know what that means. Blake, tell us I think we all have a vague idea of what we think
Sure.
neurodiversity means. What does that mean, neurodiversity?
So think of neurodiversity in just simple terms. We're all wired differently. And under that umbrella, you have what is typically traditionally neurotypical. And that's where probably 80% of the population sits, where our brains are wired very similarly. So we do similar behaviors and patterns and talk similar ways that society really approves of. And then you have the 20%. And the 20% is the neurodivergence element. And this is where our brains we're wired in a different pattern. And for many people, they probably aren't as familiar with the terms neurodiversity or neurodivergence as they are with autism, ADHD, dyslexia, Tourette's, and other elements like that. And so basically, with the neurodivergent element, is we experience the world differently. And so that's the easiest way to explain it, I think.
Yeah. Now I noticed that your website says for young adults. Is that true? I mean, did your website lie? No, what I really mean is it only for young adults? Because I'm looking at it going, wow, I could use this, but tell me.
So the website does target young adults because that's near and dear to my heart. I have four kiddos that are between the ages now of 21 and 27. They're all neurodivergent, with my eldest having autism, my next one autism, ADHD, OCD, PTSD, anxiety, next one, anxiety, and the last one ADHD and dyslexia. And when my eldest son first got diagnosed, I actually got diagnosed at the same time. So I got diagnosed later in life. He was 15. I had no clue because we think of autism and we think of, like, if you're our age, thinking of like Rain Man and Dustin Hoffman's character in the movie, or a lot of stemming or nonverbal autism. And that's just not what autism is. It is a complete spectrum. And when I went to start really diving in deep and looking at the statistics, when you look at the young adult side, it's incredibly scary. People with autism are 7 times more likely to do self-harm, 9 times more likely to do drugs, and then you have work related where only 15% ever get full-time employment. And as I was looking for those resources, I couldn't find any for young adults. I found a lot for individuals that were under the age of 18. And so I decided to leave the corporate world and actually target this specific area for that reason. So the website does say, young adults, but we've coached anywhere from 12 years old all the way up to 75 years old. And it's for us, every person is very unique and different, and we enjoy the journey. So if one of your viewers is watching and they're going, hey, I'm over the young adult age, can you help me? Of course, and absolutely, we would love to be able to do that.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that because everyone that I know that ever, well, I guess it's all ADHD. They suddenly, like at age 40 or 45, are getting diagnosed and go, oh, that
Mm.
makes so much sense. I have ADHD. And I'm going, Okay. How do you get diagnosed, and why so long? What took you so long? So it's good to know that it's there for everybody. I was just but we he has a new tool that he just introduced, and I was just playing with it. It's so much fun, but we'll get into that in a minute. So how do people come to you? Do they have to be diagnosed officially by a medical professional? Or do they have to go, oh, something's wrong, and maybe this can help me. How does that work?
So, an incredible question. No, you don't have to have any kind of official diagnosis.
Right.
Typically, when people come to us, they've tried traditional methods, they've tried counseling, therapy, traditional life coaching, and they're remaining stuck and unable to move forward. And so when we come in, we don't coach diagnosis. So that's the first thing I like to tell everybody. You could have ADHD, autism, dyslexia, whatever. We don't coach that. Everybody's still a person. And, even if you say, let's say autism, even if you have autism, you're still only one person and you experience life differently. You grew up in a different part of the world. You're a different age. All your journey's different. So we coach people. And what we look at is we actually start with how they're wired. And when I talk about how they're wired, I'm not looking at from a diagnosis standpoint. I'm looking at how do they process information? How do they, think thoughts? What are their beliefs? What are their intrinsic motivators? What are their rules that they have? Because once you start understanding that pattern, then you know how to help them get unstuck and move forward.
Okay. So anyone can show up. And then you have anyone can show up, and you have four free tools on the website. And I've been playing with the website. It's fascinating what you guys have done. Is there anything out there that is similar to what you're doing, or is this totally innovative? Because to me, it seems totally innovative.
There are a lot of incredible resources out there depending on what the need is. And so, if it's executive functioning resources, there are companies out there that do everything from like fidget spinners all the way through to time trackers to just tools to keep you on pace to help you plan things out. What we're doing and the tool that you're referring to is something that we've launching actually as we speak is it's a little bit different. When we looked at where people get stuck and what I consider myself, Laurie, I say I'm a neurodivergent coach, but really I'm an independence coach. And what that means is that I want people to be able to have a life that they can thrive in and just have the type of life that is beautiful for them, whatever that life looks like. And one of the things to be able to do that, which we have found in many of the young adults, but it's also in older adults as well, is it comes down into the career area. And that's where a lot of people get stuck, is because the tools that are out there that are built are primarily for neurotypical people that have a same processing and thinking pattern. So then you got this 20% of the population. There's 8 billion people on the planet. So 20% of that, if my math is good, 1.6 billion people that are having challenges as they get to that point where maybe they're searching for careers, maybe they're trying to keep their career, they're doing elements that are career related that tie into their independence. And so what we designed and what we created is a tool that takes a lot of the cognitive load and executive functioning load off the career search and making it easier for whatever their neurodiversity type is to be able to go through and find employment that matches up with them. That's really big. So part of this tool will let them know here's based on not just your resume, not just your experiences or your skill sets, but on your neurodiversity type, on your intrinsic motivators, on all these other elements that aren't taking into consideration jobs that match up. Because one of the hardest things is that when a person, typically neurodivergent, gets into a job, if it's the wrong fit, they burn out and they say, see, I'm not good at anything. And it starts becoming their identity. And I'll give you an example, Lori, is we were working with a young man that was a janitor at a church. and he had just got fired from a janitor at a church, and he had autism, and he says, "Who gets fired from a church, let alone a janitor position?" And he lived in his parents' basement, so he thought he was going to be that autistic meme of the young adult playing video games, living in their parents' basement, and he was so depressed. And so one of the things that we took him through is we took him through this process that's now built in electronically, but we took them through the process to figure out who is he and how is he wired. And what we found is he has an intrinsic motivator for connection. That means he needs to be around people. He needs to feel a part of a team. He needs to be able to talk to people. And doing a janitor's job at a church at night where he's the only one there, it just didn't give him any fulfillment. And as we know, when you get into that role and you're not being fulfilled, you don't do and perform at the best you're capable of doing. The next thing is we found out what he was really passionate about. For him, he was very passionate about helping young people or helping senior citizens. And then we looked at his strengths, incredible artist. And so when we took all of this and laid it over the top, it just screamed art therapy, art therapist, because he was also in college going to, and being going down the psychology route. And he says, I can't believe I've never thought about this before. That is exactly the route we want to go. And so we were able to help him get a stepping stone job, which was to become a behavioral therapist at an autism um, workplace so he could be able to work with the young kids doing art. And he absolutely is thriving. And that is because we figured out how he was wired and then was able to help him do all the heavy lifting. And we've taken that heavy lifting now, and now we've made it electronic, and that's a tool that is coming out today called Anchor. So we're very excited about that.
What a story. What an amazing story. And I noticed on the website, you have a couple of success stories, and it's just and read the testimonials, and you have to be impressed. It's like the parents are like, "Oh my God, we never thought we'd see this day." I don't want to make people too revved up about it, but I do want to make people revved up about it because I think it's amazing what you've done. So prior to Anchor, which is coming out today, and can I just give them the website? Is that correct?
Sure, please.
Idealmindsanchor.com. And eh, it's amazing because you go on and you can click on whatever you think you might be or the problem you think you might have. I think my problem will be I probably have a little bit of all of this. I'm not sure what I have, but you can click on as many as you want. And then from there, it takes you such a logical, not legit, well, maybe logistical, step by step by step. And it's like, oh, I don't have a resume, or oh, I got a resume, but it sucks, or it's just better language than mine. It's amazing. So you've been working on this project for the Anchor project, but you've already tested it out because that's kind of what you were doing all along.
Yeah, so
Mm.
what came from this is if you're okay with me sharing a little bit of a story here.
Oh, they're beautiful stories. Yes, please.
Okay. So last year, I was at an event where an IPEC coach was speaking, and I had no idea that they were an IPEC coach. I'd read his book, and in his book, it talked about how his dad was battling cancer. And I had cancer 3 years ago. I'm a cancer survivor. And so I always check up when I hear stories like that. So I went up and asked him about his dad, and he gave me just incredible that his dad's been going strong for the last 10 years and everything's still in a good place. And then he asked me my story and I told him, and he said some pretty strong words to me. He says, "You're being spiritually irresponsible." I have never in my life, Laurie, been told I'm being spiritually irresponsible. And I said, all right, time out. You got to tell me what that means. And he says, you know, you were saved to do big things and you're playing small. Because
Oh,
at the time I was just a solopreneur coach and I was living a good life and all of that. And I was making my little bit of difference. That paired to my eldest daughter was having shortly after that, my eldest daughter was having a tough mental health day. And I was helping her through it. And she just said, Dad, it's so hard when the world doesn't work for how my brain is wired. And when I heard that, I got this just crushing, sinking, and I said, okay, I need to do something a little bit different here. And so we've actually rebranded into Ideal Minds. It was called Aspire, ASPIE-R before that. So that was a play on the word Asperger's because that's originally what I was diagnosed with, and now it's just under autism. And so from there, I said, okay, what can we do to start changing the way the world is wired to help the people that are wired differently? And the job element was the thing that I kept on coming back to because that is what makes the biggest impact for independence and also for, you know, I'm not saying this is right, but people feel a lot of value when they're being able to contribute in a job. And so when you're pairing these things, I said, okay, what could we do that would make it easier for the masses? Because obviously, I'm one person, my team now is 11 people, and we can't handle billions, but technology can. And so for the last 4.5 months, we've been working on Anchor and fine tuning it and taking all the pieces that help all the kids that we work with or the adults that we work with to gain employment, sustain employment. Because with Anchor, it's not just about landing the job, it's also about keeping the job too. And so we put together this program that it has a little bit of a 3-year build out, but the first build out is really powerful. And so that is how it came to fruition is because of those two conversations. And so we've been working on fine tuning it. We had beta users. One of the best stories is one of my wife's friends, her husband unfortunately got let go of a job. He needed help. His resume wasn't probably the best resume. And so we got him to use Anchor, where Anchor basically took his resume, took the job description, tailored the resume to match up and show his strengths for that job. He sent it in. He got interviewed the next day. He got an interview the next day, then interviewed a few days later, and then got the job. And that was just during the beta testing. And we've used it with a lot of our young adults, and they're having the same impact. And it's just something that it's a lot of clarity on what the next step is. There's actually some gamification in it as well. So it makes it more fun to search for jobs than the typical job, tracker or job board or resume tool. We've got it all in. And then the key too is you got to interview. There's an interview program built in there as well to help desensitize the nervous system and prepare them. It is really, we're very proud of it, and we have big plans for it to continue.
You definitely should be proud. And it is for me, it was a game. It was like, oh my gosh, where are we going next? And it was just when we got there. I mean, by clicking, I got there.
Sure.
Well, it was like, yes, this is the next step. I'm thrilled to hear that your friend's husband used it because I'm thinking for the person, and I love what you're doing for young adults. Good, let them get started. Why do they
Yeah.
have to suffer 20 years before they figure out what's going on? But for the people who go, I just don't understand why I can't keep this job, why I can't do it. I would highly recommend just go through the process. How much of this is free? Because you're offering a great deal of resources that are free on there
Yes.
right now. Now it may change when you become a big mega stars, which I think it
Well,
should. But yeah, tell us about the free stuff.
yeah. So I'm here to change the world, not just make money. Obviously, we all need to eat and all of that, but I want people to be able to be impacted by this. And, part of when we designed it was for more senior people as well that are, who've been in jobs for maybe 20, 30 years, and then they got out of the job for one reason or another. Now they want to go back to work and what do you do? Because it's a different ball game now these days. And so we designed it to be user friendly for no matter the age level or the neurodiversity type. And you don't have to be neurodivergent to use it. It's open to everybody. There is the free version. And in the free version, we give you access to all the tools to try out. And what that means is you'll have unlimited job tracking. So you'll be able to go in. There's an extension that will allow you to go to different sites like LinkedIn, Indeed, Google Jobs, where basically you just click this button, it saves it right into Anchor. Makes it very easy. And it brings the experience. So let's just say you have dyslexia. With our program, it changes the complete font structure. Well, when you go into LinkedIn, Google, or Indeed, it changes the font structure there too. So we try to bring the neurodiversity type to those other places, but you can save the jobs in there. All of that's free. You can track the jobs. All of that's free. Then you get to be able to tailor your resume. So it will share with you kind of the job fit. So if you do the testing element, that will tell you, hey, this is kind of the best path for you, then it will measure the job fit against that and allow you to say, hey, this is really good fit for you. Or, hey, maybe with a few more skills, this could be a good fit for you as well. And that's free. The resume tailoring, we give you 3 free resume tailoring. So you can go in there and get it 3 jobs, apply to those 3 jobs, because now you have a resume that's tailored exactly for those job descriptions. And the thing that is important to note here is many people, when I tell them that part, they say, well, I can just go into Chat GPT or Claude and get them to tailor my resume. And I said, you absolutely can. The difference is Chat GPT will make stuff up. It hallucinates. It will add stuff in there. Ours will not. It's taking what you have, it's displaying your strength, and if it doesn't see something that's important for that job that's not on your resume, it'll ask you questions to see if you actually have that knowledge that was just missed being put on your resume. And once you answer, it'll add it to your resume. So that's all in there. Then if you need help with cover letters, it'll do that. Follow-up emails, it'll help you with that. And you have access to everything. It's just limited. So 3 resume tailorings, 1 job interview preparation and practice is the element. And then after that, it's very affordable. And when you upgrade to the pro plan, what really we do that's different is you get unlimited access to everything. But now there's actually a community behind it that when you join the pro plan, now there's a career coaching calls every week. So you can go on and get some live coaching calls. Now it's groups, but you'll get coached by somebody else getting coached or their answers being answered. And so and then there's a lot of additional resources that you don't see in the free because it's locked in a private community. And so that's something that we want all the people utilizing Anchor, and it's for anybody who feels like they're wired differently, no diagnosis needed, that you can go in, utilize it, and then we want to be able to help you get to the job, but also keep the job as well.
It's amazing. I mean, it's truly amazing. I'm so grateful that you and I ended up on a panel and I
Yes.
got to meet you because I had no idea. First of all, I had no idea that 20% of the population was neurodivergent. It's like, really? Okay. That's like you said, that's a lot of people. And when you say community, how involved um, your community certainly is totally involved. How involved do family members become? Should they become involved? Uh, how do you deal with that aspect of, or do you know? Yeah, no, how do you deal with that?
Sure. So I'm going to separate the two conversations. So
Okay.
Anchor has a career community with coaching,
Okay.
but when you get into coaching an individual, especially the young adult side or the teen side, the family is instrumental because what happens is many times to get independent and to get to where they need to go, the structure at home needs to change a little bit. And what we have found is that as coaches, we do a phenomenal job of getting that young person ready to move forward. But if the structure doesn't change, then they revert back to old patterns. And so what we have done is we've worked with parents now. If somebody does one-on-one coaching with a young adult, there's actually a parent community for those parents to be able to learn how to talk differently, how to structure things differently, because neurodiversity is so unique and different that you could tell a person, hey, empty the dishwasher. Well, that could trigger their nervous system and cause them to completely shut down. And so you may have to talk to them differently. So the parent, they are an instrumental piece of the puzzle for sure.
I knew that because there are so many testimonials from grateful parents on there. It's like, oh, that, yeah, like I said, that we never thought we'd see the day. So, Fantastic. Well, I'd want to let people know definitely how they can find you. The website is idealminds.com. And I'm sure at some point you're going to put
So
anchor.
yeah,
Oh,
I actually need to
change.
correct that. It's
Oh, okay.
idealmindscoaching.com.
Oh, okay. I haven't been doing it, but okay, great. Do you know I can
So
reach it that
there's
way?
Yeah, so Ideal Minds Coaching, if you're typing it in that way, if you do a Google search, Ideal Minds will show up. But
Okay.
if you're typing in the URL, it's idealmindscoaching.com.
Well, see, I was going to lead people astray there. And then they go, oh no, I do need this. Okay, great. And then is Anchor separate or is that a separate website or is that a part of the umbrella, the umbrella?
So Anchor will be linked off the website, but if you wanted to go directly to Anchor, it's idealmindsanchor.com.
Okay. Okay. And so I'm wondering how people know how to find you, how what I know, like, how they find us coaches. They say,
Sure.
oh, something's not right. I can feel, I need a little more. How would a person know this this is where I should go? Do you have a hint on that? I mean, uh,
So one of the things is that if you're talking about personally me, I want people to find the help they need. It doesn't have to be me or my company, it can be any company. But if you're looking for me personally, Instagram, the Blake Bowman official is my Instagram handle. Facebook, Blake Bowman is my Facebook page, so you can go there. Ideal Minds has its own business page. And then, but what I would tell you as well is, talk to the experts in your community because those experts can point you in the right directions. If you can't find an expert, feel free to come to us. We'd love to help you. But there's a lot of local resources that are incredible as well.
and it sounds like you're not hiding. You're out there and easy, kind of easy to find, which is fantastic. So, tell us. We only have a minute.
Okay.
Tell us what's the goal for Anchor? Is it when's it's going live today?
Yeah, so the goal for Anchor is to go live today. So anybody who listens to this, then go immediately to Anchor and go experience the difference and the uniqueness and how it's built. And I would let them know that that is an incredible path. For me, it's a bigger picture than just Anchor. It's kind of this neurodivergent revolution where we work with people to help them know that they don't need to be fixed, that they need to be have their genius unleashed. And that's what it's all about for me.
Wow, I can only thank you on behalf of everyone. And I would say, coaches, go check that out because I bet you're going to find people who could really use this resource. Not coaches, everybody, parents,
Yeah,
coaches, whomever. Thank you. Thank you for the service. Thank you for being on the show and letting people know that there is this fantastic tool out there. And, we might have to do Blake Bowman part two because it sounds like you're not resting.
definitely not resting.
Thank you. Have a great day and good luck on the launch.